Welcome to Backstage with Kennedy. This little show will be your remedy. From Toronto, spanning across the sea. Cool people, lots of laughs. This is your favorite podcast.
Hello and welcome. My name's Kennedy from the Backstage with Kennedy podcast. I got a really cool guest today. I'm really excited for this one. Shout out to Melanie Kaye for hooking this up. The queen of punk rock in Canada, as I like to say. I got KJ from Chixdiggit on the podcast for episode number 77. So I'm super amped for this one. KJ's got a bunch of big stuff going on right now. And honestly, so exciting times for Chixdiggit. So how are you doing today, KJ? How you doing, man?
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thank you also to Melanie Kaye. And you said 77 or 78. This is your 78?
This is 77, yeah.
Oh, congratulations on 77. That's something. I couldn't do anything more than, I don't know, 2 times. I thought about doing a podcast once, and then, I couldn't do it even more than once. So, awesome job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know what, when you love something, and I just love talking to people and talking to musicians in general. This just became it's like a hobby. It's what I love to do on the side. You know what I mean? So it's a nice step for sure. So enough about me, man.
Okay.
You obviously, it's been 30 years for Chixdiggit, which is a huge number. That's super exciting. What has been the secret to being a band for 30 years? A lot of bands cannot do that. You guys have stuck through it and been very successful at that.
Yeah, I think, I obviously, we got a lot of breaks along the way, met the right people, Melanie Kaye, of course, being one of them, and the people from Fat Records in San Francisco. But I think a big part of it, and this is going to maybe bum some people out, but day jobs. I think we always had day jobs, so it took the pressure off the band, and the band made the day jobs more bearable. And the day job made the band more bearable when we're on super long tours and you miss home. Yeah. Sometimes it's nice to go home to your shitty job.
Yeah.
So I would say that's maybe part of the secret. And when we were doing that in the 90s, you did not talk about having a day job because that was not, what rock stars did, Yeah. So not that we were rock stars, but we were trying to be. And so I think we always kind of sneakily had day jobs on the side. So that's maybe a bummer answer, but that's the truth, I think. And meeting the right people.
I love the transparency on that. I mean, that's a real answer. I mean, at least personally with my podcast, I don't think I could do just my podcast or just my day job. I think it's that work-life balance and work band balance is a very important thing. And I know a lot of musicians that I know are in the same boat where they're like, man, I can't wait to get back to my welding job. You know what I mean?
So totally. And I think, there was a time when we were doing it all the time back in the 90s, I would say early 2000s, where it could have been a job, maybe not a great paying job, but a job. But I think then it becomes a job, and it's your favorite thing in the world to do, hanging out with your friends, traveling around in a van and playing music to, these people who a lot of them become your friends.
Yeah.
And it got to a point early 2000s where it became a job. And then we were we gotta take a break. So we took a 1.5-year break. Actually, this break, we've just been on this 2-year long break, is the longest one we've ever been on now, come to think of it. But I think it's definitely I think what this band is a balance between, we all have lives and then we have jobs and then we have a band, families and all that stuff. So just keeping it all balanced, I guess, is the trick, I guess.
Absolutely. So other than the Bovine celebrating 30 years, which is a huge mark for them as well. And it's awesome that you guys are doing this at the exact same time you're hitting this 30 years. Shout out to Daryl Fine and the Bovine team over there. I love those guys.
Me too.
Why did you choose this venue to celebrate at? What specifically about the Bovine really pushed you to be you know what, I want to do 3 nights there?
Well, I think that's an interesting question in itself, because when we started talking about this, I think we were only allowed to have like 40 people in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole nother, that's like, logistics or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the Bovine has always been, I remember the first time I ended up there, dragged there by some Toronto friend who I can't even remember who it was. I have an idea. But, and you're there late at night. You don't really know where you are, and you're looking around, and it's like, what is this place? Like in Calgary, we don't have anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then I sort of got to know Daryl over the years, and going there more and more, playing the odd show, and more hanging out there at other shows. And yeah, like it's probably exactly how you fell in love with it too. It's just, every time you go there, it doesn't feel like you're in, like for me, it doesn't feel like I'm in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know the distance from Calgary to Toronto, but that's how far away I am from home, and I don't feel it at all. So, I just think, and back to Melanie Kaye, she was like, what do you think about doing this? And she's the one who kind of, brought up the idea to both of us, I believe, or from what I understand. So, yeah, I think that's kind of how it came to be. And so now we're doing 3 shows there. So we were thinking 40 people, okay, that'll be easy. Now it's like, I don't know what the cap is, like 120. So
yeah, it's definitely still smaller shows in there right now. I think I went to a show last weekend at the Bovine, or I just happened to stumble into the Bovine, and it looks packed in there still. But it's definitely not as big of capacity. Like it's not full capacity yet by any means, but it is looking full again, because there were some times there where there was like 3 tables, and it's like, well, there's 15 people allowed in the venue right now. What world am I in?
Yeah,
we're back.
sure.
We're starting to get back to a slight norm, so I'm happy.
Awesome. And I have a question for you. Like, how did it feel in there? Like, did it feel like good?
Yeah, beautiful. It has that special feeling of the Bovine again, which, yeah, as I said, when there were a couple tables in there, you wouldn't see the same people that you would see, like that community feel. Like you knew the bartenders were there, but they were on another piece of the other side of some plexiglass, right? With all the standards and stuff. And you didn't really get that feeling of like, I'm home, I guess, still. But now that they've kind of taken away some of these restrictions, and there is more people, and you can see people just stopping in, it's giving off that feel again of, this is home. Live music sounds amazing again. You can hear it in the PA speaker, and just hearing that bass plug in for the first time is like, oh man, it's beautiful. It's like, this is what live music sounds like again.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, no, I'm like, honestly, I haven't done anything in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, talking to people in a bar, like I haven't done that in 2 years, really, or, almost. And yeah, so it's going to be, I'm excited about it. I can't wait just to get there and hang out and just let it all kind of happen, I guess. But
absolutely.
Yeah. It's
do you have a favorite moment at the Bovine? Like a moment that sticks out to you in particular?
I think like a number of them. I remember though waking up above the Bovine in the morning and still like not knowing where I was, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And but yeah, this like going down, and then Daryl's there sweeping up early, and it just like felt like kind of just normal. Sometimes being on the road doesn't feel normal, or it's a bad kind of normal. This just felt like home normal. So it was. I'd say that's one of them. And I played my first acoustic show there.
Oh, sick.
I was super nervous. And there was a bunch of people there who kind of like who were probably regulars, just helped me through that, helped me get like the first couple songs going, and they were helping singing along and everything. And that was a good one. And last time we were there, I think it was 5 years ago, we played 2 nights in a row, and they were both like, great.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. It's just like one big kind of like awesome, warm feeling, I guess.
That's how I feel. It's tough to really pinpoint a certain event that happened. It's a really tough thing to do in that bar, but just the overall feeling of the Bovine is a very homey feeling, and a very almost a surreal feeling, I guess, for sure.
Yeah, but can you imagine if your home looked like that?
Kind of want it.
I don't know. I don't know if it'd be good. I got young kids, and that might be there'd be some
Yeah, some of the stuff they play on the TV, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know
there'd
if
be
you want that play with kids in the house.
no, there's some trips to the doctor too, but yeah, I think yeah, but definitely it feels like home. Yeah,
Absolutely. You briefly mentioned there like people singing along to your songs at the Bovine. You have always made as a band really, really like fun songs to sing along to.
oh,
Was that a
thanks.
big goal of yours when you wrote this? Was like, hey, we need to make this stuff something that the fans can sing along to? Or did it just kind of naturally go into that?
Yeah, you know what? There was no like it's just kind of the way the band evolved, and I was kind of nobody wanted to write songs or sing, and
Mhm.
I was initially I was the drummer, and I'm a terrible drummer, but so I had to sing, but then nobody wanted to write lyrics, nobody wanted to do any of that, so I was like, okay, and then it just sort of what came out. I don't know. There was nothing kind of conscious about it, I guess,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to hear the songs that I wasn't hearing, I guess, and is what was happening. So, but yeah, thanks for saying that. I think having a chorus, like a sing along chorus, is a thing that we try and have, be part of.
Absolutely. I think
Mhm.
so my roommate is not a big listener of punk.
Mhm.
And so he didn't really know of your band at first. And I was like, dude, you got to see who I'm interviewing. And I started playing like your Spotify, and he's just like, man, this is catchy, dude. This is catchy. I'm like, yeah. He's like, yo,
Awesome.
send me that.
That's
So
cool.
that's wicked, man. So
Thanks.
one thing that I've found about you, KJ, this is obviously our first time meeting, but I've spoken to a few people in the Toronto music scene about like, hey, guess who I'm interviewing? And they were pretty amped to hear that I was interviewing you.
Oh,
And
really?
the general consensus from people was KJ's a really good dude.
Oh,
And so
thank you.
that's, hey man, I just wanted to say like the scene really appreciates you as not just a musician but as a good person. And I know you've given out words of advice and like kind of help bands along the way. Is there like, how much does helping the scene grow mean to you?
Well, I think we like when we started. Well, and thanks again for saying that. That's like I don't know what to say. Um, but yeah, I think when we were starting out, I remember there was this band we really loved from Victoria, and I think they never made it big, but they were huge to us,
Mhm.
and they were called Bum, and
Okay.
they actually ended up uh, playing. They stayed with us. Actually, we thought that was the craziest thing. Like Bum is staying with us, and I told the bass player from Bum when I was a ballsy kid. I said, just so you know, like the first time I met him, I said we're gonna be friends, and he was like, "What?" Like, and we have been friends for 28 years or whatever,
That's
and
wicked.
or longer, and so but that always meant a lot to me that they were just like regular guys,
Mhm.
and I'd been to enough shows at that time where you could see kind of who was maybe in it for the wrong reasons,
Yeah.
maybe, and so I don't know, like I think yeah, I think like you said earlier in your intro that you like just to meet people and to talk to people and stuff, and I think all of us are like that too, and
Yeah.
I think maybe that's a byproduct of just doing that.
Absolutely.
Although I have to say, in the last 2 years, I have done zero helping out of the scene. I have not left the house, so it's like I feel funny that what you're saying.
I think a lot of people do feel like that though recently. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Even if you don't realize you've done something like that as well,
Hmm.
we've all kind of become slight introverts throughout the COVID process, and
Hmm.
yeah, once we're getting back out into it, it's just like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like to do that again. You know what I mean? So, but
Hmm.
that's a byproduct of what you've said and done over years. So I know like some of those guys have known you for hell 15 years, some of them have known you for like 5 years, so that's a nice thing to see for sure. For
Awesome,
sure.
cool, thank you.
So do you have, back to the Bovine shows, do you have anything super special planned for those shows that people can be excited for, or anything that you can kind of tease, I guess?
Well, you know, it's funny at this point, we're just trying to relearn the songs. So I think one of our big features this time along is that we're going to know how to play almost all of the songs. So get ready for that, which is more than normal. So we had our first practice, and everybody came back and I think for the first time ever had practiced at home.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came into it and it was like, boom, like no time had passed.
Yeah.
It was great. So yeah, you know what? I think it'll be watching us have more fun than we've had in a long time, which might be awkward, or I don't know what it'll be. Yeah, I'm just yeah, I don't know. I think they'll see us excited more than usual.
Well, that's exciting in itself, for sure. For sure. So I saw the bills for these shows. You got some really good bands on there. What pushed you to getting these bands on the bills? Was it something that you were like, hey, I want these bands, or was it kind of a collective effort on booking these bands?
Well, some of them are bands that were recommendations by people that I trust, you know, and some of them are bands we've known for a long time and are friends. And, you know, we had a big list of bands that we wanted. And I think there was, you know, that we were discussing at the beginning kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think these are kind of the ones that, you know, well, I don't want to make other bands feel bad, but it's, how do I put it? Yeah, we're just, you know, excited about all these bands. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I've seen Black Cat Attack quite a few times now.
I've never seen them.
They are so damn good.
Awesome.
And live, they take that like their records are good. Live, they're next level though. Like I absolutely love seeing them. I saw them a couple of weeks ago too, and they blow my mind every single time. So
amazing.
I know that's the Thursday night show, so you're starting it off with a bang for sure.
Well, and that might be the first band I've seen in 2 years, right? So
yeah.
I'm excited to hear that. Yeah.
For sure. Cool. For sure. So one thing I love to ask people when they come on this podcast is, what's a great tour memory or a hilarious tour memory that you have that sticks out to you more than the rest? Some of the stuff I've heard over the podcast have been ridiculous, and then some of them have just been like real heartfelt stuff. So you choose which direction you want to go with it, but totally open to that.
Yeah, that's a tough one, you know, because well, a lot of the stuff I would say involves people whose permission I don't have to tell the stories that completely I probably would tell. But yeah, so I would say 99% of the stuff is that. Yeah. But yeah, you know what? Like, I think, you know, every night is kind of like a party, and it's kind of like what you said, the heartfelt stuff that kind of pokes through a little bit more, I guess, you know? But yeah, I think it's just like, I remember the first time we played in Germany, and I'd been talking to my mom on the phone, and she was saying, you know, where you're playing was near where your grandparents were taken to a work camp.
Oh, wow.
You know, and that was kind of like, oh my God. And then just looking around that whole day after that was just like, you know, they you know, were fine after the war, but that's where they were kind of dragged to go work. And, you know, so that was like, it just looked at it all differently. Like, oh, this is kind of like my parents or my grandparents, you know, couldn't have been walking here. They would have had to walk like in that, you know, or whatever. Yeah. Wouldn't have been free here. So that was like kind of something that popped out. That's a weird one maybe, but yeah, I just think, you know, yeah, that's a tough one. Just, you know, running into people that you don't expect to see. Yeah. Yeah, I honestly am a disappointment to this one. But,
no, you know what? I think
that's just too many.
Yeah. Well, 30 years, dude. That's like that's incredible, man. 30 years, and you've been on the road for a good amount of them, I'm sure. So it's yeah, you're gonna have a ton of unreal memories. That's just understandable. I think that the fact that you mentioned your family and the work camps, that's a beautiful thing, though. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I can imagine the feeling where you're like, wow, you know, this is intense, and like you really are humbled, I guess, in that moment, you know?
Yeah, I think it was yeah, it was just like hearing my mom, that being the first thing that occurred to my mom was like, because my mom was more of the always talking about, like always joking around and talking about happy stuff, that she would bring that up. I thought was like, that kind of stands out, I guess. But Yeah, yeah. It's too many like incredible people and going to all these places and doing these things we, as just dudes from Calgary would never ever get to do. And like back to your longevity thing, it's never lost on us. Like
Yeah.
we don't take it for granted.
No,
And I think
absolutely.
that's I think the most important thing, I guess.
Well, I love that, man. I love that. And KJ, thanks for being so real with me, dude. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
So, I like to keep these episodes short and sweet.
Okay.
So I'm going to wrap this up, man. Again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm going to try to make it out to at least one of those nights.
Awesome.
And definitely we'll have to have a beverage with you for sure. And
Awesome.
we'll catch up and have a nice chat. All right, man.
All right, Kennedy. Good to meet you, man.
Appreciate it, KJ.